Just a sad way for the 49ers 2024 season to end and a sad way to go out. San Francisco now has less than a 1% chance, according to Next Gen Stats, of making the playoffs after that awful, embarrassing, pathetic loss on Thursday night to the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to talk about it because there's a lot to recap and dissect, but there's a massive offseason coming up. And the 49ers Report, Chase Sr., will have you covered every step of the way. Live shows, breaking news, analysis, rumors, coverage every single day, and sometimes multiple shows coming your way right here on this channel. So join the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Last night during our watch party, we surpassed 152,000 subscribers. Let's continue to grow, and if you want to stay in the know with all things Niners, lock us in today. And this is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope everybody out there is getting set to have a fantastic weekend, even though that was a sour Thursday night for everybody who watched that football game. And what a sad way to go out for the Niners here. They're at home on a short week. Great opportunity right in front of them. They're coming off a game in which they dropped 38 points against the Chicago Bears and played so well in all three phases. They had some good vibes on their side. They had momentum on their side. They were starting to believe, and then they put up 6 points offensively. 191 yards of offense, the second least amount of yards that Kyle Shanahan's team has had in a game since he was hired in 2017. They average 3.3 yards per play against a Rams defense that had given up 6 touchdowns to Josh Allen last week and 42 combined points. And Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, straight up awful in that game against the Rams. And what also sucked about watching that game last night, the Niners defense played very, very well. Dre Greenlaw comes back, leads the team with 8 tackles in that first half. Then he had leg fatigue on that bad leg in that second half, and we'll get to Devondre Campbell later on in the show, but he was looking like the enforcer. He was making plays all over the yard, looking like a dog, clashing helmets with Fred Warner. That energy was really contagious for that Niners defense. The Rams did not pick up a first down until their 5th or 6th possession of the game. Deommodore Lenoir was all over the football. He nearly had a couple of interceptions. Talanoa Hufanga almost had a pick, but he has that damn club on his hand because he has torn ligaments in his wrist. And so this Niners defense was stopping the pass with Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp did not have a reception in that game. They were stopping the run. They were good at all 3 levels. They give up 12 points against a Rams team that dropped 44 in that aforementioned game against the Buffalo Bills, and the offense could not do anything. And I had tweeted this out during the game. Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy forcing the ball to Deebo Samuel might cost the Niners the game and thus the season. That's exactly what happened. And I had said right after Deebo tweeted that out, I feel fine. I'm not getting enough touches. And then he doubled down from his locker room and saying to the media who was interviewing him at the time, I said what I said, you read what you read. That what the Niners could not do in this game against the Rams is try to appease Deebo, try to make him happy because he's not the same player. And when you try to just force feed him the football, it makes the offense worse. How refreshing was it last week when Kyle Shanahan got creative, when Kyle Shanahan didn't have to just lean on Christian McCaffrey to be special. The play calling was creative. The play designs were creative. Brock Purdy was spreading the football out. The offense ran through Isaac Guerendo, a talented running back, George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, their best receivers. But in this game, the Niners went away from what worked beautifully against Chicago, and they looked in the past instead of looking into the future and focusing on the present. It's not a way to go about football. It's not a way to go about life. It's not a way to go about business. And so when the Niners tried to appease Deebo here, they screwed up their game plan right from the start. The offense lacked flow. It lacked rhythm. It lacked consistency. It took opportunities away from better players. Then the 49ers offense couldn't do jack squat. They had to punt. Pat O'Donnell's foot is probably sore here today, and the offense started to press, and that affected their performance the rest of the game. Deebo Samuel started to press. That's why he dropped that perfect pass from Brock Purdy on that third down, which would have led to a touchdown. And Deebo, in turn, played a terrible game from start to finish. On the ground, 2 carries for 3 rushing yards, 1.5 yards per carry, a long carry of 2 yards. Receiving-wise, he was targeted 7 times, as many as George Kittle. Unacceptable. 3 catches, 16 yards, and 3 drops. And then he had that false start. And on a running play earlier in the game, he was lined up in the slot. Isaac Guerendo got a carry out of the shotgun. Deebo Samuel just ran into him. And myself and Chip, we joked at the time, Deebo wants the ball so bad that he's running into Isaac Guerendo. And look, you might not want to hear this from me because I'm a talk show host, and some people will say, you pencil pushers always criticize these professional athletes. Well, that's fine. I think that I'm right. Last night proved it. I know ball. I can back it up with analysis, research, and good opinions. But let's take it from a former player and one of the great players of all time in Shannon Sharpe, who ripped Deebo to shreds and saying this. It's funny how the football gods will humble you. Now he's complaining, and he put up a tweet and then took the tweet down, and now here it is for all of the world to see. This is your opportunity. Now, look at what you did. I mean, if it wasn't raining, we would have saw you wet the bed. You did all that talking. I want the ball. Ain't nothing wrong with Deebo. Bro, you're not the same. Even when they showed the cut-ups, you had no separation. Even on the balls he didn't get you, did you see any separation? How is Purdy going to drop the ball in there? There was no separation. And no separation, it's made these throws for Brock Purdy and these plays taxing all year. We have seen some of these players decline before our very eyes. The play calling from Kyle Shanahan hasn't been good enough, but the play calling does struggle in moments because these players aren't gaining separation. And this has really been a team-wide issue, but it's been a Deebo issue as well. As for the Brock Purdy issue, let me pose this question. Do the San Francisco 49ers have a Brock Purdy problem? When you watch that game last night, how can you or the Niners come away from it saying, Brock Purdy, that is a quarterback worth $50 to $60 million on an average annual value basis? I have been saying, going into 2025, with this team not having a lot of money, having questions looking ahead into the future, it might be wise to have Brock Purdy play on an expiring contract. Because when you are going to invest $50 to $60 million per year into a quarterback, you have to be absolutely 110% sure that that quarterback is worth the price tag. And if there are any lingering questions about that quarterback not being worth that price tag, you have to hit pause and reevaluate where you are as an organization and the decisions that you're going to make. And if you are willing to invest that amount of cash into a quarterback, they have to do things special. They have to have untapped potential. And Brock Purdy doesn't really have that physically as a quarterback. Now, if the 49ers do want to sign him to a contract extension, there might be a pathway and an example for how they could achieve that. The Baker Mayfield contract right now is more realistic, and it's better for San Francisco as an organization. Baker got a 3-year deal, $100 million, about $33 million per year, and it's not quite in the range of the $50 to $60 million per season. But Baker Mayfield has played really good ball since the halfway point of last year. He's more gifted, has a stronger arm than Brock Purdy, and this year he's played better than Brock Purdy. And with this conversation, multiple things can be true, all right? Purdy has played at an average level this season. Kyle Shanahan, as a play caller and play designer with game management, overall coaching, has had a down year. The Niners' offensive line, it stinks, and it was dreadful against the Los Angeles Rams. The lack of stability with the offensive line, with injuries along the offensive line, and 2 skill position players, Deebo Samuel, in and out of the lineup. George Kittle, in and out of the lineup. Juwan Jennings missed some time. Christian McCaffrey has missed a lot of time. Jordan Mason, he's been banged up. That lack of stability has hurt Purdy. And that goes back to the summer. That goes back to training camp and the preseason when Trent Williams was holding out and Brandon Ayuk was holding in. When Ricky Pearsall got shot, that's a first-round pick who Purdy couldn't practice with. But also at the same note and on the same line, Brock Purdy hasn't elevated his teammates. And what he does at an elite level, timing, anticipation, decision-making. But the decision-making this year hasn't been as good. For instance, the interception that was so costly in that spot, which helped to ice the game for the Rams. It's second down, you're driving, you're in field goal range, you don't need a heroic long ball, and you don't need to play hero ball in that spot. Yet he chucks it downfield in a double coverage to Jawan Jennings, who wasn't open. Ricky Pearsall was wide open, and as a quarterback, you have to understand the time, the situation, where you are in the ball game with your season on the line. And if Brock Purdy isn't making great decisions with the lack of athletic ability and those two things combined together, that's an issue. Purdy has also been just a surgeon against zone defenses because he can use that timing and anticipation. Yet he has really struggled against man. The numbers decline precipitously when he has to go up against man. He's also struggled in bad weather. That is not ideal. In the NFL playoffs in January, you might have to play in the snow. You might have to play in the rain, like last year at home against Green Bay where he struggled. You might have to play in the cold weather. And Brock Purdy playing in porous conditions, he can barely grip or throw the football. Do you want to pay $50 to $60 million to a quarterback who has clear limitations, who will get outplayed by other more gifted quarterbacks? That is a problem. And the deep balls last night, terrible. Purdy throwing downfield was 0 of 7 on throws of 20-plus yards with one interception. Now, I know there's a lot of people in the comment section already saying, Chase, you're against Purdy now? I'm not fully against him. I'm against the notion of paying him $50 to $60 million because you have to be sure that that investment is going to be a worthwhile investment. And right now, there's no way to tell that Purdy is worth 50 to 60 mil. And there is no harm for this team if he plays on an expiring deal. He'll continue to be a great bargain deal, making around $1 million. If he plays well, he gets paid. If not, crisis averted. Because if he continues to play at this level and he's making that money, and because he's making that salary, you can't build the other parts of your football team. This is a Niners team that's going to have down years for years to come. So great Brock Purdy's play this year. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know down in the comment section right now. Plenty more to get to, so stay tuned because we got to talk about Devondre Campbell. First, today's 49ers Report, sponsored by our friends at PrizePicks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on the projected stats. And right now, you can win up to 200 times your money. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You can also withdraw your winnings all within the PrizePicks app. Here are selections looking ahead to Sunday's slate of games. Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yard against the Cleveland Browns. Bryce Young, more than 206.5 passing yards. He's really starting to play well. The Panthers are favorites for the first time in a couple of years against the Dallas Cowboys. And then another special, Justin Jefferson. More than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. He's been cooking alongside Sam Darnold. So get $50 when you play $5. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Merry Picksmas, everybody. More than 10 million active members and billions of dollars handed out in awarded winnings. To the back half of the show. What a story coming out of that awful loss last night for San Francisco, where Devondre Campbell refused to enter the game after Dre Greenlaw was hurt due to Achilles fatigue, and Devondre Campbell decided to just walk off the field. And here was a photo of him walking into the locker room. Kyle Shanahan asked about this after the game, and he said he decided that he didn't want to play today. Now, I have changed this photo to this photo because Devondre Campbell is an absolute clown. He complained about his role with the Green Bay Packers, and it seemed as though he was a malcontent with Green Bay. He comes to the 49ers and says that I found my love for football once again, but he has struggled all year. And the Niners went with the better option in Dre Greenlaw over Devondre Campbell. That's how it works in business. If somebody is outperforming you, you're going to get replaced. In sports, if somebody is outplaying you, you are going to get replaced. But football is the true next man up mentality, and the Niners needed Devondre Campbell to play last night. San Francisco used an active roster spot on him, and you have limited roster spots. And it got to a point where Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles was out there getting linebacker snaps, and he was hurt. Niners could have used Devondre Campbell on Thursday night. Dre Greenlaw came back 10 months after an Achilles injury. He balled out on that first half. He had a team high 8 tackles, flying all around, playing with physicality, confidence, swagger, smash mouth football. He couldn't go in the second half. And the Niners needed somebody to fulfill that role. And Devondre Campbell just flat out refused to play. You are a professional athlete. You are getting paid millions of dollars to play football. You were brought in knowing that you were the holdover plan until Dre Greenlaw came back. You have played a lot this year. The Niners have continued to play you despite you playing poorly. You knew that when Greenlaw came back, you were going to be a backup. Yet they still had you on the active roster. You were still going to have a role with this team. And Dre Greenlaw can't play any longer. They want you to play, and you just say no, and you walk off the field. These players, when they play football, are sacrificing their bodies, their brains. This is an absolute violation of being a teammate. Football is the ultimate team game. It's about culture. It's about sacrifices. This is disrespectful to the entire 49ers locker room. And I thought how some of the players handled this was great. And I think that goes to show you the actual culture that the Niners have with players who have been on this football team. Charvarius Ward, that was some sucker shit. Probably going to get cut soon. He should. George Kittle, I don't know how you can do that to your team. I've never been around anybody that's done that. I hope I'm never around anyone that does that again. And also think about what has transpired for this Niners team, which goes to show you that life is bigger than football. Ricky Pearsall got shot in the chest. Most people die with that injury. He came back to play. Charvarius Ward lost his 1-year-old daughter, suffering a tragic personal family death. He's on that football field. Trent Williams lost twin boys. One was lost during pregnancy, the other stillborn. He's still around this football team, hoping that he can play, although he needs a scooter to get around. He's still up there in the box, supporting his teammates, and Devondre Campbell just dips out on the squad. Devondre Campbell, DeGondre Campbell. Cut him immediately and set an example that that's not acceptable. And I don't think he'll ever play another down of football ever again. What a wild story coming out of that game in what has been a wild season for the 49ers. Be sure to give me a follow on social media. I'm on X at Chase_Senior, Instagram at Chase_Senior. Thanks so much for watching. Plenty of content to come all throughout the weekend, so stay tapped in right here on the show.